Hello my fellow Iron Lords. Today I'm going to be talking about the exotic heavy machine gun, the Nemesis Star. It is a new heavy machine gun that has come with the Rise of Iron expansion. It is one of about 7 brand new exotic weapons, and yeah, it's a really fun weapon to use. Obviously, like I said, heavy machine gun, so heavy weapon slot. It's the kind of same impact class and rate of fire as, say, Thunderlord. So you can expect slower rate of fire with higher impact. That is, of course, until you activate its signature ability called Strange Gravity. Now, Strange Gravity is one of those perks that it makes the weapon one of those weapons that's, rather than being built as roundabout, oh, it's special or looks unique, it's built around an actual unique perk that makes the weapon function completely differently to any other weapon in its class. So what does Strange Gravity do? Well, you probably noticed during the clips that when I fire, the first few rounds I fire are stupidly fast. In fact, the first about 5 or 6 rounds round burst makes the crosshair whilst aiming light up, and then it hits like the red part, and that is where the gun decides I'm going to slow down. But the longer you hold the trigger whilst you're firing slowly, the more damage you do, the more accuracy you have, and the more range you have. And to top that off, you get extra grenade energy on the kills when it's firing slowly. So the weapon has essentially got 2 firing modes, and each one has their benefits. You can essentially, because of the stupidly fast fire rate when you first pull the trigger, if you want to, it's not the first few rounds in the magazine fire like that. No, it's so long as you pull the trigger. So one of my friends who got this before me had the habit of, he prefers the faster rate of fire heavy machine guns, but he likes this weapon's impact, so he'd use this over those ones. So what he'd do is he'd burst fire it essentially. He'd get the most out, he'd get as much of the fast fire rate as he could, release trigger, fast fire rate, release trigger, fast fire rate. So if you're into that kind of thing, you're into those kind of fast firing heavy machine guns, this one could work out for you because it is quite accurate whilst it's in this mode. And on top of that, it's pretty good for melting people in PvP. It's quite hard to survive a burst this fast with this level of impact. I've been on the receiving end of it myself, and I've given out the punishment as well with that thing, with that kind of that burst fire mentality. But if you're like me and you prefer the slower rate of fire heavy machine guns, a la Thunderlord, this weapon will reward you, because obviously first round, really quick. But once you keep holding that trigger down, the extra range, accuracy, it does do extra damage because of the fact that it kicks in the higher impact a bit more. It just makes this weapon quite reliable, very accurate as well. Like it says, the longer you hold the trigger down, the more accurate it gets, the longer range it has. And of course, like I say, if you're a person who uses grenades, warlocks with energy drain builds, you will love this weapon. You will absolutely love it because it gives you grenade energy back. Really, gives you quite a lot of grenade energy back. Now, like I say, I've gone over the exotic perk of the weapon. I've pretty much gone over what kind of archetype it is. Let's talk about how the weapon looks, because obviously with exotic weapons, they're unique, they're meant to look different to everything else, hence the name exotic. Not only are they meant to function differently, they are meant to look, sound, and feel different. And I gotta say, this weapon feels exotic. It is the only exotic weapon from the Nadir Foundry. Now, any people who've been playing Destiny since year 1 might recognise the name Nadir from a few random green and blue weapons. The odd Nadir weapon was sprinkled here and there, but it's the first proper exotic from the Nadir Weapon Foundry, and ooh, does it look nice. It reminds me kind of like a German bomber's machine gun, sort of. It's even got those kind of gas valves. It's got the little indented barrels with like the burn marks on the side. So yeah, it's a really nice looking exotic. Its sights are really good, because obviously the sights, like I mentioned, they're tied into the exotic perk, where you can tell how far through the fast fire burst you are before you start hitting the slow rate of fire, from how much the reticule fills up in the middle. And ooh, the way it sounds as well, very nice. Like I said, it fits with that kind of, like I said, it looks like a German bomber plane's machine guns firing, and it kind of sounds like that as well. So it's got a very nice sound, and it looks absolutely wonderful. I was super excited to get a hold of this weapon when they first showed off the first few screenshots of Rise of Iron. I can remember there was the Trials of Osiris Guardian in the screenshots was holding it, And I was just like, ooh, I want a hold of that weapon. I was a bit disappointed that it's not its own full weapon foundry, because I'd have loved an Nadir assault rifle, shotguns, pulse rifles, all that good stuff. But for an exotic, ooh, we got a good one. So, is it worth your exotic slot? There's always this argument that, you know, the exotic heavy machine guns aren't worth the slot because they aren't like, say, Hawkmoon, or you could take Gjallarhorn or whatever. But I don't play Destiny to be an efficient player. I play Destiny to have fun. And for me, if a weapon's worth your exotic slot is whether or not it's fun. That's why I'll always argue that No Land Beyond is worth the exotic slot, no matter what content you're going into. So, do I think this weapon's worth it? Well, it's fun. It is a really fun heavy machine gun. It's the most fun I've had of a heavy machine gun since I first got hold of Thunderlord. It burns through ammo, but it just does it in such a fun way, and it looks awesome. It sounds awesome whilst you're doing it, and you can deal out quite a lot of damage. It does quite a lot of damage to people in PvP. It's not going to outperform things like Gjallarhorn or other things like Outbreak Prime. But if you're looking for a fun exotic, I can easily recommend it for your exotic slot if you're looking to have fun.